split this into 5 areas. So first of all, I'll give you a little bit of background as to where I've come from, who I am. I'll talk about a screen reader, what it is, what it does, the products that I use, the products that I can use since JAWS, the screen reader that I use, was launched. We'll talk about website accessibility, what I need as a screen reader user to make the user experience friendly and welcoming for me. We'll talk about our Lingus and accessibility, which is the company that I work for. And we'll also talk about then, finally, the lessons that our Lingus have learned and also some changes that I've seen over the years in terms of accessibility. How does that sound? Good? All right. So, as Rory said, I am Brian Dalton. I work for Aer Lingus as a QA tester. So I would test the various products before they get launched onto aerlingus.com. I'm part of the QA team, just as the guy who sits beside me or girl who sits in front of me and everybody else on the team. So I would be as involved as they would be. Why did I get involved in testing? Well, I have technology hanging off my arm from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep at night time. I do everything with technology. I want it to be the best user experience that it can possibly be. So I got involved in testing really to contribute towards that user experience and to make it the best that it possibly can be. I'm doing QA testing now for about 5 years. Before that, I worked in the help desk in Aer Lingus, taking calls from all sections in the airline. You could get people ringing you from check-in, nearly crying because their printer won't work. They've got a big queue of people in front of them. It's 5 to 5 on a Friday evening, they can't get it working. You could get somebody who's locked themselves out of their account because of their password. I've done it. Go away on holiday, to sign up a good holiday, you forget your password when you come back. So you could get calls about anything. What I had to learn very quickly was the thought process is very different. For me as a screen reader user, I'm used to using the keyboard to interact with the website or application. So Alt and X will maximize it. Insert and F6 will flip you from page to page. When I started in the help desk, I had to learn that the system tray was down the bottom right-hand corner. I didn't know that. I just pressed insert F11, brought it up to me. So I had to get a picture in my mind very quickly of what a sighted person saw on the screen, very quickly. I started off in Aer Lingus by working in customer loyalty, so Gold Circle, Tab, all the frequent flyer programs. 21 years ago, I hate to say. There you go. I have to say that Aer Lingus always had buckets of enthusiasm. They were always very willing to get involved and look after me in whatever way that they could, in terms of the technology I needed and the support I needed to get the technology to work in the way that I wanted. I began using a product called JAWS, which is a screen reader, which a screen reader is exactly what it says on the tin. It reads out what's on the screen to a blind or a visually impaired person. So you can focus on the bits and pieces, and we'll give a demo on JAWS, or I'll give a demo on JAWS in a couple of minutes' time, so you'll get to hear what it sounds like. So it's very customizable, it's very flexible. You can change the speed, and Catherine will vouch for that. You can make it really fast or really very, very slow. And you can change its punctuation, so it'll read out all punctuation or only the bits that you want. It'll tell you if text is bold, underlined, capitalized, italicized. It'll even speak misspelled words in a different pitch. So it's very customizable depending on the type of environment that you want. I saw this product in the very early 90s when I was still in college. I was in university at the time, and a guy in the bank was using a product he was a computer programmer in the Bank of Ireland, and I'd heard that he had it, went in and seen it, and I wanted it there and then. I wanted to buy it off him there and then, but I couldn't because I didn't have the money. It retails for about €1,500, which was a lot of money back in the early 90s. I went to the bank. I got a bank loan when I was in college. My mother went guarantor on the loan. When she saw it arrive in the post, she said, I went guarantor so you could buy that. But it was 5 little, you remember the 3.5-inch floppy disks? That's what it came on, 5 of those, in a little envelope, 1,500 quid. She thought I was out of my mind. She thought that JAWS was something that swam in the sea at the time, and so did I have to say. But the power of what it could do, I got an old 386 computer, myself and a friend loaded it up, and when she heard the PC speaking and reading out a Word document and me being able to type in and And hearing back what I could type up on a screen, she was blown away, as most people were, and as I was when I saw it first of all. That was the very early 90s. Thankfully, the product has kept pace and has developed since then. Started out, as I said, on those 5 little floppy disks that I received a long, long time ago, to a CD, to now a web version where you can pull it down in minutes and run a demo. For 40 minutes, you can take a trial of it and test it out and see how you get on with it. So it definitely has kept the pace of time. Thankfully, lots of the big players in the market today have screen readers built in. I remember getting the iPhone for the very first time, and the reason I got it was because it had a screen reader built in. First mobile phone I ever got had a product called Talks, which you had to install. It took about 20 minutes to get this thing working. I made a bags of it so many times. But with VoiceOver, you could just triple click a home button on your phone. You're all familiar with the iPhone, yeah? So you triple click the home button and it will start to speak. That was just liberating for me. It really, really was. To be able to go into the Carphone warehouse or any mobile phone shop, buy a product, bring it home, use it. So Apple embraced it. Microsoft have done the same with Narrator. You can now buy a PC and install Windows 10 straight out of the box. No sighted intervention needed. And Google have also implemented screen readers as part of their product line. So a screen reader, as I said, does what it says on the tin. It reads what's on the screen to a blind person. What's needed in a website to make it accessible to a screen reader user? Well, lots of the basic things. When I pull up a web page, one of the first things I look for is the links on a web page. What's on here? Where am I going to go? Is there good link text on a web page? Does it describe exactly where it's going to take me? Will it take me there? So I could pull up a rte.ie, for example, and get all the news, which I regularly do. Does the text on each link tell me what story it is? When I press the enter key on that link, is it going to take me there? Wait a minute, please. Hold on. Stop. So is it going to take me to where I want it to go? That's one of the most important elements on a website. Are the buttons clearly labeled? If I press the letter B to go through the various buttons, and I'll show you in a second on the Lingus website, is the button clearly labeled? Do I know what it is? If it's not labeled, it's just going to say graphic, 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 or unlabeled, unlabeled, unlabeled button. Is it going to say buy? Is it going to say purchase? Is it going to say turn on color contrast? All those things are important. One of the fundamental principles for accessible design is good design enables, bad design disables. And I was really happy to see John mentioning accessibility in terms of design in his presentation earlier on. So, is the experience going to be user-friendly? If accessibility is built in from the ground up, which is the way it should be, then it should be, and it will be a better user or experience for all. Why were companies reluctant to get involved in accessibility in the early days? 2 factors, I believe: fear and cost. How much is it going to cost us to build an accessible website? How many resources are we going to have to pump into it? What most places realize in time and don't realize at the very start is the longer you leave it, the higher the technical debt becomes. So the more it's going to cost you in the long run to make your product or your website accessible, because you're going to have to tear down what you've built up already to get accessibility working. If you start from the ground up, we can build it in at the start. Much easier and more cost effective. Fear as well. We're all afraid of the unknown. I flew from Dublin at 6:15 this morning. I had 3 alarm clocks set, so I was afraid I wasn't going to wake up on time. We're all afraid. We all have fear in us. And most people who haven't had exposure to something like JAWS or a screen reader or accessibility are afraid. They don't know what it is. They don't know what it's all about. It's a totally different thought process. So there's the fear factor as well that's involved. What else can I tell you? There are standards around accessibility. There is the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. Won't go deep into them here. You can put it into Google and you can read all about it in there. Some of you probably have come across them already, have you? Yeah. So they govern the standards around accessibility. What should be accessible on a website, how it should be made accessible. All buttons, links, Headings should be all clearly labelled. All fields on a form, so when I'm entering details into a form, it should say first name, second name, address, email address. If they're not labelled, it doesn't tell me anything. So I have no idea what I need to enter in. And some of those details are mandatory, so it's going to stop a screen reader user in their tracks. It's going to stop the flow straight away. So all of those things need to be labelled. When you tab, a screen reader user will tab across the various sections in a form when they're completing their details. So the tab order needs to be clear, and it needs to be in a way that they're going to understand it. So first name, surname, email address, confirm email address, in a logical order. That's what needs to happen. So when did Aer Lingus get involved in accessibility? Well, sadly, they left it late. They had built their website and then needed to make it accessible, which did cost them more than it should have, but I have to say they've done a really, really good job of it. It was started in 2015. They got a project management team together straight away, just like they would with any other project. So they had their vision document. They wanted to make the manage, and the check-in flows accessible to a screen reader user within 6 months. That's what they set out to do. And they did achieve it. There could be improvements, and there needs to be improvements, but they've definitely achieved what they set out to do. So they had a PM, they had a business analyst, they had a QA team, they had a development team, and all the parts of a project team that any project would have. And we all got together. I was part of the QA team, so I'd have to write test cases around accessibility and various tasks to do with the components on the website in order to make it accessible. So we'll have a look at JAWS, and we'll have a look at the main page on aerlingus.com. How many of you are familiar with aerlingus.com? Have any of you used it?
No.
Is it? Oh yeah, just let's do that. Okay, that's good. So, is it gone yet? We'll just get the screen up just so you can see what I'm going to do here. That good? Okay, thanks. So it's feature-packed, aerlingus.com is, just like all websites are becoming these days, feature-rich and feature-packed. So I'll give you some of the examples that I've been talking about form fields, buttons, links, and all that sort of good stuff that makes a website accessible. So, let's see, like that. Let me just refresh that for a second. Okay. So if I press the letter B key to toggle me through the different buttons on a page, here's what I should hear.
Close tab special offers button. The top login button menu.
Is that too fast for people? Is it okay?
English change your country/language settings button.
So I can do that.
High contrast switch off button.
So I can switch it on or switch it off. It's just a toggle.
My searches button menu.
If I search for any details, I can access them there.
Find flights button.
And the Find Flights button, most importantly. So we'll have a look at the form then on this page, and we'll have a look at the different fields.
Departure from, departure airport, Dublin Dub,
Ireland. You hear that little click? That lets a screen reader user know that they're inside a form that they can interact with. So they can start filling in details in there to populate the form. So Dublin's in there already. Let's tab on.
Arrival airport, edit, use JAWS key plus Alt plus M to move the controlled element anywhere.
Where do we want to go to? Amsterdam.
When result is available, use up and down arrow keys to navigate or tab key to auto-complete. Return trip radio button checked.
Return trip, we can change that again just by toggle.
One-way radio button not checked. 2 of 2.
We can check that as well with the space bar if we want to do that.
Multi-city link. Day edit required, use JAWS key plus Alt plus R to read descriptive text. 07, outbound date.
So that's the outbound date, and you notice the way it said required there, so it's a mandatory field. You can't go anywhere unless you put a date in there. But a screen reader needs to know that too.
Month edit required, use JAWS key plus Alt plus R to read descriptive text. Year edit required, use JAWS. Day edit required. Use JAWS key plus Alt plus R to read descriptive
So you get the
text.
picture.
09.
All the fields are
Month
spoken
edit
as I
required.
tap
Use
through.
year edit. Passenger selection list box has pop-up. Use JAWS key plus Alt plus R to read descriptive text.
So
One
here's where
passenger.
we can
Press enter
expand.
to expand passenger selection menu. Use tab to navigate across available options. Press escape to dismiss passenger selection menu.
There you go. He can do a better job than I do if I'd only let him finish. So we can expand that control and select the number of passengers that we want.
Promotional code edit. Use JAWS key plus Alt plus R to read. Economy radio button. Find flights button.
Most importantly, find flights. So we'll hit that.
Air Lingus. One moment, please. Heading level 2. Page has one heading and one link. One moment, please. Heading level 2. Page loaded. Air Lingus.
So you get all the messages that I get. One moment, please, while the page loads up, and then page loaded once the page is loaded up already. So here's what I was talking about with headings. We can browse by headings by simply using the H key. We should be able to.
Dublin to Amsterdam,
That's
heading
better.
level 2.
Dublin to Amsterdam. So how do I navigate what's in front of me? Well, it's laid out like a table. So I press the letter T, which will bring me up a table. And most of the keystrokes that a screen reader user will use to interact with a website are very logical. T for table, F for form, H for heading, B for button, and L for link. So whoever thought all this out was on the mark, I have to say.
Grid with 8 columns and 5 rows. Column 1, row 1, visited link departure sort by time, descending.
This is a table. Now before Aer Lingus undertook the accessibility project, I have to say, none of this was accessible. A blind person could not book a flight with Aer Lingus with the new website that was launched. So the devs team really did well here, I have to say, with the table. So we'll navigate across it.
Visited link duration 1H40F. Departure sort by time. Beginning the row. Departure 10:15 dub. Row 3. Departure 6:15 dub. Row 2.
6:15. I know what that time feels like.
Duration sort by time. Ascending. Duration 1H40M. Column 2. Arrival sort by time. Ascending. Arrival 8:55 AMS. Column
That's
3.
your arrival time.
EI 602. Column 4.
Flight number.
Operated by Aer Lingus. Column 5. End of row.
Okay, and that's the end of row. And the whole table is laid out exactly the same, and I can navigate that table with the up, down, left and right arrow. So we'll just go continue on this because I want to go on to the passenger information and just show you how this is laid out too.
Virtual find.
So we'll just go continue.
Continue button. Continue button. Continue button. Continue button. Page has one heading and one link. Passenger information. Page loaded.
Okay, so this is the passenger information screen up where you fill in your details. And this is why, again, it's very important that all these fields are labeled properly
Passenger.
and that are labeled correctly.
First name and title. Required invalid entry combo box title.
So this is a box. We just...
Title open list box. MR 2 of 6. MR collapsed. First name edit required invalid entry. Use JAWS key.
Now again, I could change the keyboard echo as well to echo back every letter as I type it in.
Family name edit required invalid entry. Add special assistance button menu. Press enter to expand any tab content. Press escape on tab or within the tab content to close it and go back its corresponding tab.
So all the information that you can see on the screen is being fed back to me through the screen reader. And that's all done by the devs in using HTML5 and the use of ARIA as well.
Add frequent flyer number button
Same
menu.
here.
Use JAWS key plus Alt plus R to read descriptive text. Press enter to expand any tab content. Press escape on tab or within the tab content to close it and go back its corresponding tab.
All that information is critical.
Frequent flyer program combo box.
Same
Aer
thing on
Lingus
that
Air
one.
Club. Add frequent flyer please sign me up after I complete my booking. Checkbox not checked.
And again, I can check that if I want to sign up.
Email address did required invalid entry. Email address did required invalid entry. Email address
So
did
this is another
required invalid
required
entry.
field. So we'll type in an email address. And again, I could have all this echoed back to if I'd like. And I'm going to be clever here if I can. I'm going to copy
Selected.
that.
Ryan.Dalton at a link. Copied selection to confirm email address editor.
put
Pasted
that in
from
there.
clipboard. Tick this box if you prefer not to receive emails with our latest offers. You can unsubscribe at any time. Checkbox not checked.
Simple checkbox. We check it.
Checked.
Or we uncheck it.
Not checked.
With the space bar.
Privacy statement link. Country edit required. 353.
Phone number.
Required invalid entry. Area code / prefix edit required.
So we'll put that in there.
Local number edit required invalid entry.
Again, it's required.
Terms and conditions link. Add SMS €1 button.
We can read the terms and conditions. We can add an SMS message.
Supplier terms and conditions PDF 267.44 KB opens a new window link.
That's important. If I want to read the terms and conditions, I can hit enter there, and I know that it's going to open up on a new page. It doesn't get opened up in the middle of the browser like what happens if the website was poorly designed.
Please confirm you have read and accepted policy exclusions and age limitations checkbox not checked.
Very important. If I couldn't check that box, I can't go any further. It's a blocker. So I check that.
Checked. Policy exclusions and age limitations link. Add insurance, €10.62 button.
Again, it's all clear. I understand exactly what's going on.
Start again button. Additional baggage charge information link. Continue button. Passenger information.
So this is going to push me, and I won't go much further with our Lingus.
One
I
moment,
do want to
please.
show you
Heading
something
level
else.
2.
So I'm probably way over time as it is.
Page loaded.
But I do want to show you what our Lingus has done with the seats, because the seat map
Page
was
has
quite
7 headings and
complex
7 links.
to get right. So we'll have a look here. I'll certainly try.
Passenger essentials heading. Choose your seats heading level 3 used blank. Sit together. Stretch your legs or Dublin to Amsterdam heading level 4.
Now this is important.
List of 1 items. We are sorry, but online seat selection isn't possible for this flight. Seats will be assigned to check-in. Clickable.
That's because the flight is actually booked for the next day, so it's too late to book your seat at this stage with an online check-in. So I'm told straight away what happens here. But if we move down to the Amsterdam-Dublin leg,
Amsterdam to Dublin heading level 4.
that's why again it's clear, it's good that good headings are in here, because I'm against the time too. Most of these websites have time limits. You've got to complete your task within a time.
List of 1 items. Blank. Choose seat for Brian Dalton button.
So we just press the space bar on that, because that's what we want to do. And we should get a list of seats up.
Select seat clickable. List end. Blank. Heading level 3 subtotal 0. You welcome to the Air Lingus seat map and dashboard selection. Right A, B, C, D, E, F, 1. 1 unavailable button.
So 1A, unavailable. Can't have that.
1B, €13.99. Choice seat sit up front for a speedy exit button.
So I know exactly how much the seat's going to cost me, and I know what type of seat it is. And that's the work that they've done with the seat map. So that's just some of the features that Aer Lingus have implemented to make their website accessible. An example of a website that doesn't meet accessible standards. A couple of years ago I wanted to bring my godchild to the cinema. And I was advised at the time, Brian, you need to book your seat before you go. It's okay for you, you've got your own seat, you've got your wheelchair, but you really should book your seat before you go. So I said, okay, I'll get on and I'll book the seat. So if we go over to another page.
HP system information, movies at Dundrum, movies home, Internet Explorer, movies at
Dundrum, fairly popular cinema in Ireland. I've been there a couple of times. Now, the movie I'm about to demonstrate, I wasn't going to bring my 12-year-old goddaughter to see on Chesil Beach, because her mother would have a heart attack if I did. It was about 4 years ago, but they haven't changed the website since. And the same thing happened back then as what happened today when I had a quick look to see what I'd demo for you.
Wrapping to top on Chesil Beach FLS heading level 3 link.
So we've got the movie title.
Rating 15.
That's fine.
Length run time 110 minutes.
Perfect.
Length.
Yeah. Of course you can. Do you want to try it or do you want me to do it? Can you do it?
Menu system move restore close maximize menu bar.
How's that? No. You drive.
Leaving.
Good? Excellent. Good stuff.
Adapted by Ian McEwan from his best-selling novel, the drama centers on the young couple of drastically different backgrounds in the summer of 1962.
That's
Following.
I've read the book. It's a good book.
The pair through their idyllic courtship.
well,
The
let's
film explores
move
the
down
fateful
here.
wedding night. Land. This event is free list suspend. Land.
Now listen to this bit.
Note, times shown in red are sold out.
Times shown in red are sold out.